Welcome to the Money Manifestation Mastery podcast with your host, Lara Waldman, where we talk all things money. Big money, big purpose, big power. Waking up your wealth for heart-centered business owners and entrepreneurs. In today's episode, you are going to learn how to feed your hungry ghost. So many entrepreneurs and business owners are being fueled by what I call the hungry ghost, the unheld wounds that drive so many ambitious people. And although that can create really great results that people would say are successful, deep inside, there is a place of loneliness, of lack of fulfillment, of unmet needs. And I want you, as the business owner, to be well met, to be held, to be supported, because I know from that place you can create on a much deeper and richer place of true fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. How are you? We've been having an incredible week post Living Abundance Live in London, having one-to-one conversations with participants at the live event. I offered a free gift of my wealth expansion session to follow up with all the participants. It's really important to me that we have a check-in time, integration time to process everything that came up, that was activated and revealed over this powerful 3-day event, and to follow up and to help everyone land and ground this work into their real life. Have you ever been to an event where it's really great and you feel really amazing, but then a few days later or a few weeks later, you're just back to life as usual? Well, I don't want that for my clients. I don't want that for the participants of these live events. I take a stand for integration, for the embodiment of this work, to live it, to breathe it, to transform your life. And one of the ways I like to do that is have some intimate one-to-one time with you to really see how this work can support you in your life. I had a wonderful wealth expansion session with someone recently that inspired this podcast today. So thank you. You know who you are. We had an incredible conversation that revealed a particular part of manifestation mastery that I wanted to talk with you about today. The challenge for me always is the magic of manifestation and how it works is illogical. It's beyond the logical mind. It's beyond the surface level symptoms that you're experiencing in your business and your finances and your life. And yet there is so much power in this work, and I want you to understand. So I'm going to do my best to share how this process works, starting with the business problem, starting with a financial problem, and then going deeper. And of course, I would like you to experience a wealth expansion session yourself. So if you haven't already, head over to my website, larawaldman.com, click on Breakthrough, book a call time, fill in the application, and I really look forward to diving deeper with you. These are exceptional calls, really powerful and really beautiful. So this person I was speaking with last week was stuck in business. They're doing well, but they're stuck at a particular level. They're stuck financially and they're stuck in their business growth. On the surface level, her business is doing great. Everything looks great. Her life looks great. Everyone would say, you are a success and this is going well. But for her, for the business owner, she doesn't feel that way. Part of her wants to give up. Part of her feels like she can't do this anymore. Part of her feels like she's lying because on the surface, everything looks great, but there's something missing on the inside. She's having to hustle for the current results she's experiencing, which is fine. Her level of business and income is fine. It's okay. but it's not to the level that she truly desires. She doesn't have enough time. She's running around, raising kids, all the things that business and life demands of her. And she's struggling with that. So what I do with these wealth expansion sessions and within the money manifestation mastery method is we look at the surface level symptoms, what's going on the ground in business, finances, or personal life, and then we start mining for gold. Then we start finding out what's really going on. And one of the ways to hack this system, to hack this process, is to get clear on what it is that you want. So her business is stuck, it's not growing, she's at a certain level of income, which is okay, it's fine, but it doesn't provide the life or the luxury that she truly desires. So we then go in and get clear on what you want, like what you really want. And this is where we call on your soul self, your heart self, your body's wisdom to get clear on that. And this helps put a stake in the ground. This helps to focus the conversation on what it is that you actually want. Now, what you actually want is like buried treasure inside of you. Sometimes you're aware of it, but you suppress it because you don't think it's possible. Or sometimes you may not even be aware of what you truly want because you haven't even allowed yourself to fully want it or fully connect to that. Mostly we get stuck in survival, in the, paddling just to stay afloat, in the hustling to create results. And that consumes all of your time, your energy. And so there isn't really space to tap into that heart, body, soul aligned wants and desires. And this is what I hold space for in these calls. After we look at the surface level symptoms, we went a little bit deeper. What's going on for her, inside of her? So I always am working with the business owner, with the being. What's going on in your inner game that is unconsciously creating and contributing to your present reality? Now, this is the area that is usually in a blind spot for most people. We can't see it. And this is why it's so important to be held and facilitated in this work. And we started to find something that was incredibly interesting, something I know very well, that doesn't look like it has anything to do with business or finance. Because this is about a deeper inner game that was going on for this beautiful woman. And this is also something that goes on in many people, including myself. As we hold space for the current level problems or challenges, and as I ask questions about that, how you feel about that, what starts to happen is a reveal of what's going on your deeper inner game. And we start to reveal things about your relationship with yourself, your relationship with life. And what started to appear in this conversation was that this business owner said, I don't feel at home. There's no place for me to be and relax. And we explored that a little bit more. And she started to talk about being a good girl growing up, being a nice child, an easy child. But she actually didn't feel like there was any room for her growing up. So she learned to be the good girl. She learned to be the perfectionist. She learned to do all the right things on the surface. So everything looked good and seemed good on the outside. But there was this gaping hole inside of what I call an unmet part of herself. Now, this gaping hole of the part of the self that's not really included in life can create something that I call the hungry ghost. It's the unheld aspect of the self that's then hungry. It's longing. It has desire. And often that hungry ghost, when it's not held, when it's not mentored, creates a lot of problems. In my life, that manifested in being obsessive with food, overeating, or drinking too much, or hyperfixating on certain problems or challenges. it's this gaping hole that is hungry. And if we don't know how to deal with it, it basically runs us rather than us mentoring it. And most people are unaware of this space inside of them. You call it the void or this gaping hole. And I know that my gaping hole inside of myself also came from being abandoned. And abandoned physically by my mother, who left one day unexpectedly, but also abandoned emotionally. My parents not knowing how to meet me and hold me emotionally and physically in a sense. And this created this huge void inside of me that honestly, it took me a long time to understand that this first was even here and how to fill it, how to take care of it, how to work with this gaping hole, because it had me in a lot of addictive patterns. It had me making a lot of bad decisions in my life because I didn't know this gaping hole was even there. And then 2, I didn't know how to be with it. And 3, I didn't know how to transform it. And the good news is now I do. And I feel that this level of conversation is very profound and very powerful and will have an incredible impact on you, your business, your finances. But we're going into a very deep and rich place. So this conversation really is for my soulful deep divers out there. And I would love to know what is landing for you in this conversation. So this gaping hole exists because of parts of yourself that aren't in the game of life. I call them the undefined parts, or the unmet parts, the unheld parts, the unloved parts. And what I find with these parts is they've often been buried in the shadows of shame and pain, the buried treasure for most of your life. Sometimes people have been in connection with these parts when they're little, but usually by the age of 7 or 8, they're shut down, or particularly by teenage years, they go in lockdown. And most people hide these parts because essentially they don't feel safe, or there's no room for them, or they feel unloved, unwanted. And this turns into shame. This turns into pain. This turns into loneliness. But the problem is human beings don't want to feel those feelings. We don't want to feel shame. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel lonely. We don't want to feel unwanted or not good enough. So that's when we create all sorts of patterns and habits and behaviors to essentially not feel that feeling, to not feel the gaping hole. So when I was on this wealth expansion session with this woman and we identified her gaping hole, her undefined parts, her unmet parts that weren't in the game of business, she said, well, what do I do with this? How do I fill it? What's the step-by-step process? And I said, I'm going to dedicate the next podcast to you, and will do my best to answer this question. Because this is where the manifestation mastery method comes in. The gaping hole will manifest in lots of ways. It manifests in lack and scarcity, not enough money, not enough time, not enough energy, not enough support. So when you're experiencing the not enough, this is the sign that there's an unheld, unmet aspect. And the invitation then, if you want to play, is to go a little bit deeper and scratch beneath the surface to uncover what's really going on. And this is what I hold space for. And this is what I'm here to help facilitate for you. It is one of my superpowers. I can see what is going on in the shadows. And I help you see what's going on in the shadows. I call it reveal to heal. So the challenge for our brain is when we start visiting these undefined or unheld parts, essentially it feels bad. We are in the unknown and our brains don't like that. And we go into survival mode. Because when you start meeting your gaping hole, the unheld parts, you're going to feel some feelings you don't want to feel, or some uncomfortable feelings. Sadness, grief, anger, frustration, loneliness, anxiety, fear. There'll be some uncomfortable feelings. And this is why I say one of the biggest blocks to manifesting is simply a feeling that you don't want to feel. So we hold space to be with the feeling because there is magic and gold ready and waiting for you on the other side of this. Our brains struggle to be with the unknown, and they also struggle to be with space. And part of manifestation mastery is about holding space for the unknown. And this is why I call it mastery, because it's not easy for our brains to stay in this space, which is the unknown, which can feel like risk. And yet this is where the magic happens. So after we've revealed the problems, the challenges, and what's missing on the ground of your present reality, we start to hack this system, as I said earlier, by connecting to what you want. So one of the things that happened on this wealth expansion session was this woman realized that she had never experienced a sense of being at home or a sense of home, and wanted to manifest a home that she felt really good in, that she could relax in, that was beautiful. And what we identified was that she's never had that feeling in her life. She doesn't actually know what home is. She's lived in many homes, but what really being at home feels like. The inner game of manifesting home is, can you guess? Feeling at home in yourself. So as soon as I hear her say that, I don't know what home is, I know that she also doesn't know what it feels like to be truly at home in her body, truly at home in herself, meaning a fully integrated version of who she is. She's been disconnected or disassociated from an aspect of herself. I've also done the same thing, and I had exactly the same problem with home. I will do a whole episode on manifesting home coming up soon, but for now I want to focus on this gaping hole, because this is really where the manifestation mastery magic begins. So then we tap into what I call future wealthy you. Who are you when you've manifested the business that you desire, the finances you desire, and in this case, the home that she desired? What is it that you want? So we looked at business, finance, home, health, relationship, and play, adventure, things outside of work and finance. And started to connect to who she is on that level. Now, this is her when she is defined, when she is manifest, and what she creates from that place. And so we start to build an energetic template. It's the map of who she is and where she's going, and start to get her connected to that. Now, this is a practice and this is a discipline, because it takes a little bit of time to help that undefined part or that unmet part to feel safe to land and become defined and met. And this is part of the daily practice. This is part of manifestation mastery, manifesting money or whatever it is that you desire. Money is a great activator for this, but of course you can go through the lens of business, health, relationship, home. Wherever you go, there you are. So the practice is to meet this future wealthy you every day and start to train yourself into connection with this part of yourself, teaching your mind, your body, your nervous system, your energetic system, every cell in your body to start to vibrate at that vibrational frequency, to start to get connected to who you are becoming. And this helps to start to take up space and fill that gaping hole we're filling it with the power of your presence. We're filling that void space with an aspect of yourself that you have been disconnected from for a long time, and swimming in that energy. It is truly beautiful to welcome this future wealthy you into your present day reality. And it is a practice, because a part of you just doesn't know what that is. You may see it in the outside world. You may know what it is that you want, but a part of you has never experienced that before. So you actually don't know it from a lived experience level. And this is what you need to train yourself in ahead of time. So you do the training ahead of time so that you are open and receptive and ready for it to land in. Because the undefined parts and the unmet parts don't know how to receive. They unconsciously push away. They unconsciously hide. They unconsciously sabotage the very thing that you want. It's so interesting. And I can see this as well playing out. I can see what the unheld part is doing. And this is what I like to help you to see, what it's doing. How is that unheld gaping hole part creating? Because they are. And then what's the difference when that part is held and met and defined and feels safe and feels loved, feels welcomed in the world? How do they create? Because that future wealthy you version creates exceptionally powerfully, but in alignment with what it is that you actually want. So the unheld gaping hole part of you creates this hungry ghost experience, or will have you overworking, people pleasing, doing triple backflips, working exceptionally hard to stay afloat. And the held hole, when you meet this gaping hole and can be with it and hold space for it, this taps into the space of creation. So that gaping hole, when it's held, when it's worked with, when it's connected to consciously, is space, is creation. It's where the manifestation magic happens. And so learning how to hold that space is the mastery of this work. And it's also the challenge of this work. And yet, if you can be held in this space to learn how to hold this part of you, powerful, powerful change happens. And this is where you go through what I call the rewire to receive. But first, you need to relax into the space of the unknown. You need to breathe with and stay present with all the feelings that are there. Release and let go of everywhere you're trying to control and grip and contract. That's not easy sometimes. Really inviting yourself to relax and release is a powerful part of this process. And then you start to embody who you are when the results that you desire are here. And this is about becoming defined, coming into the body, taking up space. And from there, that part of you that's embodied and connected and knows their worth and knows their value and is holding the line for what they want starts to receive. It opens the doors to receiving. It creates a vortex of receiving, a magnetizing energy towards you. And this happens after all the brave work that you did beforehand. To feel the feelings you don't want to feel, to let go of control. This practice I call an open palm. Hold what you want, but with an open palm, not a fist that's gripping or pushing away. This is not easy, especially when you're triggered or challenged. And it's why it's essential that you're held and supported in this work, and why I'm encouraging you to come and have one of these wealth expansion sessions with me. It's very hard to do this on your own. It's not impossible, but it's so much easier when you're held and facilitated through this work, because we are in this beautiful blind spot. We are in the void of the unknown here. And yet this is part of my mastery that I want to help you understand, to teach you, to empower you, to know how to work with any problem, any pain, any challenge, any setback, and rewire it to create what it is that you truly desire. When you learn to hold yourself, to meet yourself, to love yourself into life, that future wealthy you, and you relax and you release, you let go, and you open up to receive, you expand into this abundant state of being. It creates generosity. It creates an openness. It's expansive. And this part of you actually knows how to be with space. It allows space around things. It allows for the magic and the mystery of life to work with you, through you, for you. It's an open palm. And this part of you understands how creation works. Co-creation with the universe, with your body, with the planet, with each other. That's the abundant, expansive, empowered, heart, body, soul aligned version of you. And yet the small part, the scared part, the unheld part, that survival brain contracts, controls, shrinks, plays small, is quite stingy. It hides. And it's normal to go through expansion and contraction. But the discipline of this work is to come back into that expanded, whole, healed, embodied, empowered version of you and learn to lead from that place. What I've learned about this gaping hole is that it's not about filling the hole, but allowing it to be here. I've spent 25 years trying to heal my gaping hole, my trauma, my abandonment wound, the part that feels alone in the universe. And where I've got to now, where I sit now, is that that hole is still here. But I know how to be with it. I know how to hold space for it. And when I do, when I open into that, it's pure love. It's universal energy. And it's a space that invites others to come and relax into it. That's what I've created in my business, through my courses, through my live events, through all the offerings that I have, is essentially a safe space to come, relax, release, embody, receive, connect, and create and expand. So what was once a gaping hole of loneliness and sadness is now a space of connection and creation and play and invitation. So the space is still here, but I'm holding it. I'm leading it. I'm listening to it. And yes, my little wounded parts and traumatized parts still get triggered. I still have to hold those parts of myself as well. And remember, as part of the practice, to come back into this more expanded space that is beautiful. I find that many entrepreneurs, business owners, very ambitious people, powerful people, have this gaping hole. They have some wound that is driving them. And if we can hold the wounds to ignite your work, then it's a frigging superpower. But if the wounds aren't held, it creates a lot of problems in business, a lot of problems in finance, a lot of problems in relationship or health or home. I've learned all of this the hard way, that the wounds have to be held. The traumatized parts need to be held. Your unintegrated inner children need to be held. They need to be mentored so that your work drives from a place of wholeness rather than a place of lack. of scarcity and not enough. And this truly is my passion. My dream is for more and more business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, professionals, those who are making real change out in the world, are coming from a more integrated place, a secure place, a held place, so that everything that we do, build and create comes from this deeper, richer place. And I truly believe that when we come from this place, when we create from wholeness, we contribute to the lives of others on a much more impactful way. Now, of course, we are all perfectly imperfect. It's imperfect leadership, one step at a time. But if we can keep working those wounds and doing that inner work, alchemizing the past through the power of the present to build a much more abundant future, we're going to be doing some incredible things. So, my invitation to you at this point is to come over to my website, larawaldman.com, click on Breakthrough, book in your call, answer the questions in the application, and I look forward to having a deep dive with you very soon. Thank you for joining us for today's conversation, how to feed your hungry ghost. I would love to know what's landing for you. Please send me a message. You can send me an email or a DM. I would love to know what's landing for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And I look forward to being with you next time for another episode of the Money Manifestation Mastery podcast. See you then.